Hello friends, I want to introduce you to an ethnic food that is very rich and decadent and delicious and wonderful called Aash. This is the quick version of making Aash. Aash is a food that usually takes a lot of preparation because there's a lot of legumes in it that need to be soaked in water the night before. But since we didn't have time and we just felt like having Aash today, I'm going to walk you through the express version of Aash. The two key ingredients in Aash is a sauce that is called Kashk. Kashk is made up of yogurt, and in any in most Middle Eastern stores, you can find this. If you're in London, Ontario, there's a supermarket called Berries, and I bought this from Berries. What you need to know about Kashk is that Kashk could be very salty. Therefore, before you even start cooking Aash, you have to have a bit of a taste of this Kashk to know how salty this is. This particular Kashk, which is called Cassanda, is not that salty, so I might have to add some salt to my Aash. Usually, if the Kashk is very salty, no salt is needed. These are special noodles called Reshteh, and Reshteh is also found in many Middle Eastern stores. In Toronto, you can find them in all Persian supermarkets. Here, I found Reshteh at Berries Market. Reshteh is different than the noodles that you're used to because when you run your fingers through it, there is a film of flour on it. It cooks very quickly, and it's the last ingredient that you add to your Aash. So I just want to explain the decorations on top of the Aash because it affects the way the presentation of this wonderful food. Usually we use onions, caramelized onions, garlic that is sautéed a little bit, and dried mint. However, because this is a quick recipe, I'm not going to use the caramelized onions because they take time. Instead, I'm going to be using some cooked or fried peppermint and this minced onion, which looks really good on top of the food. You will see. And I will also saute the garlic. Also, you need to reserve a little bit of your Kashk and boil it in a small amount of water, and you can also use that on top of the Aash. So today we're going to use a mixture of dried herbs and some fresh herbs that I'm going to use at the end. If you were to not make the express version and wanted to make your Aash with fresh herbs, you can use parsley, coriander, dill, and chives plus spinach. The spices that you need for Aash are a dash or to your taste of all these spices. Turmeric, pepper and lemon, cumin, onion powder, and garlic powder. And also remember about salt depending on your Kashk. So Aash or any kind of soup needs chicken broth or vegetable broth. In this case, I'm going to be using chicken broth. If you're a vegetarian, you can use vegetable broth. So you might need about 2 of these. We will gauge it visually as we go, and we might use both or we might use 1.5. The legumes that you need for Aash is a medley. Usually if these don't come in a can, it takes a long time to cook. But today for the express Aash, we're going to use a medley. As you can see, there is chickpeas and kidney beans and all kinds of beans in this. Also, you need about 1 to 2 cups, depending on how much lentil you want to use, of lentil. Lentil cooks very fast. It's not as slow cook as chickpeas. So this morning when I felt like having ash, I put some of this lentil in water, and as you can see, it already giving volume. So we're going to see visually again how much of this lentil we are going to be using. With any soup or ash, I always use oatmeals to thicken it. So depending on how thick or heavy or thin this ash is going to turn out, we might need between 2 to 3 spoonfuls of oatmeal. We need a little bit of cooking oil. I'm going to be using grapeseed oil, but you could use any cooking oil. About half of this size spoon. So we're going to be sautéing the onions and then the garlic. Onion takes longer to cook, so we do the onions first and then we do the garlic. So now, one by one, I'm going to be adding a dash of these spices to the onion that is cooking. This will make the wonderful smell of these spices to come out even more when you add it to the onion. So if you are particular about how much herb to add, it's about 1 teaspoon of each. I normally don't measure much because I go with my experience and with my, I eyeball everything, but I live with someone who measures everything to, down to the details. So if you're one of those people, okay, use a spoon like this. So once my onions turn golden, I will add the garlic. Smells wonderful. Lentil is one of my favorite legumes, so I'm thinking that I'm going to use the full 2 cups of legume and start cooking it. Because the rest of the legumes we use are cooked, we're going to hold back on those. We're going to start with the lentils. Aash is a ethnic Iranian food that we cook that doesn't belong to a certain region. We use aash as an excuse to get together. For example, when we have women who are with child or carrying a baby, we always say, oh, they are probably craving aash, let's make them aash. Or when someone has traveled far away, which happens a lot in Iran, and the people that are left behind are missing him or her, we make aash and we get together to sort of support the people that are left behind. Or if we have a wish and we would like a collective positive wishes of other people, we have an afternoon aash, and we usually women get together, they come in support of each other, and they eat together and they wish well wishes for each other. So aash is an ethnic food, but it's also a comfort food. Okay, now I'm going to be adding about 3 spoonfuls of these dried herbs. These herbs smell absolutely wonderful. So I had added 3 of these full size of the herbs, and now I'm going to add the chicken stock. Remember that you must warm this up because when a food is cooking, you don't want to add any ingredient that is cold because it just goes blah. So I ended up using both of these. Each of these are about 946 milliliters or about a liter. So overall, we added 2 liters of chicken broth. So after about 20 minutes of these lentils cooking, you can just push your fingers through it. You see that it's soft. Then we know that it's time to add the already cooked, pre-cooked legumes. So I'm going to add these legumes with the water that's in it because the water itself also has some sort of thickness and texture, which I'm going to be using. I'm not going to drain it. So it's on high temperature. We're going to boil this mixture for about another 20 minutes or so. And then once it starts boiling, we're just going to turn it to medium or maybe even low. You have to make sure that you constantly, or at least every once in a while, will mix up these ash because you don't want the bottom to be burnt. And when I put a spoon to it and bring it up, you can see that the percentage of lentil is more than other legumes, but that's how I like it. Lentils are very delicious. While the ash is boiling, we are going to use this time to make the decorations on top of the ash. So first we're going to saute our garlic, and the oil is sizzling hot. So once each of our decorations are ready, I'm going to put them in 3 separate bowls because when we're decorating our ash, we have to put a spoon in each of them and put it on top of the ash for decoration. The garlic sautéed or cooked in less than 2 minutes, maybe 1.5 minutes. So I'm just going to put it aside in my bowl. Okay, it's now time to warm up our mint. We're going to use the same oil. The oil is already really sizzling hot, and we are going to use about 1 spoon of this. Maybe I'll be generous and add 2. I'm just going to add just a little bit more oil to this mint. I don't want it to burn, and it needs to be nice and oily. I'm just going to add just a little bit more oil to this mint. I don't want it to burn, and it needs to be nice and oily. So mint is ready in about 30 seconds. You can already smell it. The smell will give away that it's ready. So I'm just going to put it away. About 15 minutes has passed, and as we can see, the ash is still not thick the way we wanted, and that's why we use the oatmeal. We're going to add about 2 to 3 spoonfuls of oatmeal to thicken the ash. Now we can also right away add the spinach and some coriander that we had. I personally don't like to overcook sabzi or herbs that are fresh in ash. It's good for it to remain fresh. That's why I didn't add it at the beginning. So now we can add this wonderful spinach and then the coriander. So we are going to be adding the magic ingredient. It's called Kashk, about 3 to 4 spoonfuls of it. The more Kashk you add, the more delicious it is, but it has to be to your taste. Some people don't even like to add any Kashk, and they can add a vinegar instead of Kashk. Anyhow, I love Kashk, so we're going to add 4 tablespoonfuls. And And now we're going to allow this kashk to boil with Aash. So I've added 3 so far. Stir the Aash, and as you can see, the color will start lightening up a little bit because of this kashk that we added. So now we're ready to add Reshteh or noodles to our Aash. The amount of noodles that you like in your Aash, it all depends on you. I start with a handful and then we're going to recheck. Okay, I'm just gonna add the second handful. I can visually tell you, having made so many Aashes in my life, that we're gonna add the rest of these noodles to the Aash. Remember that the name of this Aash is Aash Reshteh, which means the noodle soup. So, yeah, I think this is just the perfect amount. With each spoon that you scoop up, you're seeing a good balance of everything. And now that the Aash is boiling, we have turned the heat down into medium or low medium. We're going to be covering it and let it cook for another maybe 10 minutes. And intermittently, we're going to stir the Aash. So last but not least, we're going to boil some kashk to add it to the decoration on top of the Aash. So I am boiling about half a cup of water, and I'm going to add about a couple of spoonfuls of kashk to the boiling water. In less than a minute, this kashk is ready. Be careful not to burn it. So once the noodles are cooked, our Aash is ready. Aash is ready, it's time to decorate. Okay, so we're gonna maybe start with the kashk. I'm just gonna put my kashk in zigzag. You can write any message that you like on your Aash. Maybe if I were to write anything on this, would be to stay strong. We all need to stay strong. These are tiring and trying times. And now let's add a little bit of mint here and there. And now we're just going to put some of this minced ready-made onion that I didn't bother to make. I could have made caramelized onion, but you don't really need to. This is just as yummy and delicious and beautiful. And the last ingredient, the last topping is the garlic. I don't have a whole lot of garlic, so I'm just going to spread it around. And now we have a decorated Aash. Okay friends, Aash is ready. We have to have this food warm. And usually we gather together, we have this together. As you know, during COVID outbreak, we're not allowed to get together. However, you can find a cozy corner for yourself, a place that you enjoy to be, and enjoy this wonderful fall day with a delicious Aash.